Good morning. Hello, hello, hello. It is Cassandra Terry, your manifesting miracle maker, and today is Thankful Thursday. Today is our day when we focus on gratitude. I say all the time that it's my favorite day of the week because I understand the power of gratitude and how, when we're operating from a place of gratitude, even when we're dealing with something difficult, we end up having more energy, more focus, we're more clear, we're able to better navigate that situation if we are focused on what's good, if we remember that there is more good than not, and if we take the time to think about the things that matter to us and what and who we're truly grateful for in our lives, it just kind of level sets the brain. It gives you some of those good old endorphins, and it helps you to just get going when things otherwise are not necessarily going your way. Yesterday was one of those days for me. I actually woke up early and I was having a wonderful morning. I was having one of those days that just felt like a divine download. Good morning, Melinda. It was one of those days where I woke up early. I was refreshed. I hate it when I wake up and I'm already tired. And yesterday was one of those days I woke up feeling good. I woke up full of energy, and I just had the urge to get up and to start to prepare. Yesterday was supposed to be a really big day for me. Good morning, Kim. I love you. Yesterday, I was scheduled to speak at a women's conference. Yesterday was International Women's Day, and I was chosen back in January to be one of the speakers. So, as you can imagine, I've been preparing since then. It was one of the biggest events that I've been booked for so far, and I was looking forward to it. But I also wanted to be prepared, and I did not want to squander that opportunity by just showing up haphazardly. So, what I was going to say in the presentation had been created for quite some time. I actually hired a public speaking coach and was working with her every week, just working on things like eye contact, especially when you're remote. Um, you have a tendency to look at the screen. So I'm looking at the screen now. I can see myself, but my eyes probably look down to you guys, where I had to train myself to actually look at that little circle at the top of my laptop so that I'm looking at the camera. Just little things. And we rewrote that presentation multiple times to make sure that there were good transitions and that the points I were trying to make was hitting. So let's just say I was prepared. So I woke up yesterday morning. Good morning, Alicia. Love you. We woke up early. I woke up early and went over the presentation because I was supposed to do it at 11:40 yesterday. And so I went over it, checked the timing. It felt good, and I was like, okay. And then it was time for Wake Up Wednesday, or well before time for Wake Up Wednesday. But how I show up depends on what I'm getting in preparation for what I want to talk about each day. Sometimes I hit go live and I just go. I just start to talk about what's on my heart, or something that I've read, or something that I feel like is important or can be really helpful to people that are watching. Other times I get what I call this divine download, where I get really specific messages and kind of exactly what it is I want to say. And that's what yesterday morning was like. I had scheduled it the night before, and I knew what I wanted to call it. It was Life on Autopilot versus Life on Fire. It's because on Wednesdays we talk. It's Wake Up Wednesday, and we talk about being intentional. And when you're not intentional, you're just kind of going through the motions, right? Your life is on autopilot. When you are intentional, that's when you can really spark a fire in your life and start to accomplish the things that are important to you. And so it was all written out. I was ready to go, and I finished at 6:28 a.m., exactly 2 minutes before my alarm goes off. And so I went, "Oh, I've got plenty of time to get dressed this morning. I'll pull myself together and I'll be prepared early." At 7 a.m. when I go live, I'll already be dressed and made up and ready for my presentation that's, going to be over 4 hours later. That was the plan. Well, guess what? Life is what happens while we're making plans. I get in the bathroom, I start to do my face, and I was in the middle of a facial. So I had the soap, the cleanser on my face, and I heard my husband moan. And I said, "Are you okay? Is something going on?" And he was responding, but not that well. And I could tell that he was in some sort of distress. And so I went in to talk to him, and he was doing the masculine thing. I'm okay. I'm okay. But it was clear that he wasn't. I could see he was in pain. I could see he was struggling, but he wasn't really articulating where the pain was coming from. Good morning, Cliff. Thanks for joining. And so I really got nervous. But at one point, when he felt the pain, he touched his chest. That was all I needed to know. I said, we're not experts. If it's a headache, maybe we could work through a bad headache, a migraine. But when you're clutching your chest, we need professional help. We need to know that what's going on is not life threatening. So I told him, I said, I have to call. I tried to check his blood pressure, and I couldn't get it to work between my nerves and his pain. He wasn't still. I just couldn't capture his blood pressure. So I knew I had to call 911. So I did. And they came and they determined that he needed to, go to the hospital. And so we spent the first part of the day yesterday in the hospital. So I had to reach out to the people who I was supposed to present for yesterday, and let them know that there was just no way that I could make it. My husband's in the hospital, and I've got bigger responsibilities. So that's what I did. I made an intentional decision. It was clear. It was easy. Family comes first. My husband was in distress. There was no way I was going to leave him, even though he was encouraging me to. He's like, I'm fine. I'm in the hospital. Just go down and do it from the car, or go home for a little bit and do it and then come back. Maybe by the time you get back, I'll be done. That's easy for him to say. I would have felt so bad as a person, even if it wasn't my husband. I would have felt bad leaving anybody in the hospital to go do something that was optional. And so it was clear to me, what the decision was. So I made that decision. I stayed at the hospital. Eventually it was very scary. Eventually he was released, but only to immediately within 2 days get with the cardiologist, get some workups and things like that. So we'll be doing that within the hour. We'll be headed in for his consultation. So what I'm going to try to do this morning, now that I've gotten all that out, because one of the things I want to say to you guys, I am committed to the time that we spend together. It's important to me to be here. I get energy from you. I hope, and from the feedback that I get, I'm bringing some value to you. So it's really important to me that we all have this time together. So if I'm not here, know that there is a reason. I'm just not hanging out. I'm not sleeping in. There's something that's keeping me from being here, that's taking precedent over this time. I think I see my brother-in-law, Danny. If that's you, Danny, on TikTok, will you call me after this, after I go off, so we can connect? Um, but anyway, I take this time is special for me. It really gets my day going, and it makes my mornings feel worthwhile. So if I'm not here, it's because there's something happening. If it's something that's planned, I'm going to tell you in advance that I'm not going to be here. So if I'm not here, something from an emergency standpoint, it may be positive. Maybe I just won the lottery and I'm so excited about the millions that are rolling in that I forget. But something significant has happened if I'm not here. So that was what happened yesterday. Fortunately, my husband he'll be waking up in a few minutes because we've got a doctor's appointment, but he's fine. He's doing well. The pain subsided in the hospital. They determined that there was nothing life threatening that was happening, but the symptoms that he had were significant enough that they want us to follow up and to see what caused it, and, keep going. So that's what we're going to do. So today, what I would like to do is kind of combine yesterday, which was Wednesday, Wake Up Wednesday, which was about being intentional, with today, which is Thursday. And on Thursdays, we always talk about being thankful. So as you can imagine, I'm up here with gratitude today because my husband is safe. He's good. And we're home, and we were so exhausted. We just slept most of the day yesterday. So I'm even grateful for that, for having the opportunity to recharge. So we're combining Wednesday and Thursday because my life required that. I thought about saving it till next Wednesday, but let's just put the two together. So, life on autopilot versus life on fire was the topic for yesterday. And as I go through these, I'm not sure how it's going to work because I hadn't planned it out, but I'm going to weave in the gratitude as we go. Somebody said, love your locks on thank you so much. I've been growing them out for about 3 years and I absolutely love them. So if anybody's thinking about growing out if you want your hair to grow and be healthy and strong, this is a very good option. Autopilot. When I was preparing yesterday, like I tell you guys, sometimes I get what I call a divine download. And that's where I feel like I'm really getting a message, a clear message to share with anybody who happens to run across this video or the guy or y'all who are regularly live with me. So the first thing I felt was to look up autopilot. So I did. And according to Collins Dictionary, when we are on autopilot, we are acting without thinking. We're acting without thinking about what we're doing. And that's usually because it's something that we've done many times before. So it's easy to get on autopilot, even when you're driving. If you go to your job every day, you take the same route, go into the grocery store, you take the same route. Sometimes you can find yourself showing up there without even remembering the route. You got in your car, and the next thing you know, you're there because your brain is someplace else because you've done it so many times. The problem with autopilot and not thinking is that you're not thinking. And when you're not thinking, you're not present. You're missing the process. You're missing what's going on around you. You never know what little nuances or what messages or what's out there for you to see that you've rolled right by because you're in that autopilot. You're not being intentional. So I encourage us every day to try and be present. The past is over. The biggest thing we can get from the past is a lesson. We can learn from what happened, and we can use that to inform our present so that we make good decisions and we know how to flex and move when similar situations come up. So that's what the past is for. It's not to shackle you to yesterday. It's to inform you and give you some lesson. The future, I hope the future gives you just that hope. It's where where you expect things to unfold in a certain way, but you can't control that. We don't have crystal balls. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So the best thing that we can do is be right here, right now. Be present. When you're present, you are all your senses are activated. You see what's going on around you. You hear what's going on around you. You may smell what's going on around you. Yeah, you've heard many times, smell the roses, right? Take the time to stop and smell the roses. You actually smell your environment and you feel it. It may be something as simple as the wind on your skin or the sun on your we're in that environment all the time, but because we're in it, we miss it. And when we miss things, we miss the opportunity to enjoy, to reinvigorate, and to actually be a part of what's going on. We're typically either so focused on our future that we're allowing it to affect our present and we're not really living here, or we're so focused on the past that we're dragging that baggage in and we're acting as if that's what's really going on. But the present is where life actually happens. And if you can be intentional and be prepared to be in it, no matter what it is, it opens up your life in so many different ways. So we don't want to go through life on autopilot, not thinking. That's why we say on Wednesdays, wake up, be intentional. So we always want to think about not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it. I've talked to you guys about your why many times. That why is your motivation. That why keeps you going. That why keeps you connected to the thing that you're doing and will push you forward when you don't feel like it. I wasn't sure if I was going to feel like getting up this morning and doing it, but if you guys can see, she put a little extra touch on this morning. I woke up early again, and I was a little sad yesterday after I didn't have the opportunity to present. It was an interesting dynamic because on one hand I was so relieved, I was so grateful that my husband was fine, and then we got home and we got in bed and got settled and was ready to take a nap, and this sadness, this disappointment came over me because I had been looking at that event as a big opportunity, as, being seen on an international stage and maybe, really getting some traction behind what it is I'm trying to do and building a larger audience. So I was excited. I had put a lot of thought and stock into it since January. So that there was a natural disappointment that came. And so I was caught between two emotions. On one hand, very happy and relieved, and on the other hand, disappointed and a little sad. But I got to decide which one of those emotions I delved into. And so I did not deny the disappointment, because all that's going to do is make it bigger. I didn't deny it. I kept it to myself because I didn't want my husband to feel bad. I didn't want him to feel like he in any way had done something wrong or had stopped me from something that I was supposed to have, because I firmly believe that everything happens for a reason, and it happens the way and when it's supposed to happen. So yesterday just wasn't supposed to go down the way I had planned it. It just wasn't. And I'm okay with that, because I know that what's for me is for me, and that there's something waiting for all that I've been thinking about, all that I've been working on. I know that there's a door, a window, a peephole, something is opening for that to materialize. And when you have that kind of hope, when you believe, when you have that kind of faith, then you don't have to get so disappointed and so upset when one thing doesn't go right. Now, was I that sage and full of that much wisdom yesterday in the thick of it all? Mm-mm. No, no, sir, no, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. I was sad and I felt bad. And while my husband was behind me and starting to snore, I started to cry. I actually was really emotional for a minute. But what kicked it off was one of my cousins was was reaching out and checking in and seeing how he was doing, and I was telling her, and I was like, yeah, it all went well. I had to figure out, I had to reach out to these people and let them know I wasn't going to make it, blah 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 blah. And she just began to pour into me in such a profound way. First, it was her. She was like, "Oh, cousin, I see what you're doing. More and more people are going to show up." She was just being really encouraging. And then she said exactly what you just said, Kim. A bigger platform is waiting for you. And she was like, this is not me talking. I am receiving a message for you. I'm just a vessel giving you the message that God is giving me. And he's telling you not to be discouraged, because what is for you is for you. And he has a plan that's bigger than anything that you are able to plan. And in that moment, that's when I got really emotional. And I was so grateful that, because when you're the encourager, who encourages you? When you're the strong one, who lifts you up? And that's kind of been my life story. I am that. Not and I don't say that as a burden. I say it as it's a gift, but it's also a responsibility. I've got a lot of people in my life that will pick up the phone and call or text or whatever and say, what should I do? And I am honored that people think enough of me to ask me questions about how they're maneuvering through their life. And I do the best I can to work with them so that they figure it out. I used to, when I was younger and hadn't done a lot of the work that I've done now, I used to give them my opinion. Now I'm wise enough to know that it's not my opinion that needs to show up in a situation like that. When someone asks me what I think about their life, I realize that they are the expert of their life, not me. Now, I may be the expert on something that made them come to me in the first place, but usually that's not it. Usually it's relationship. We have a good relationship, so they will ask. They trust me for one reason or another, so they ask. Somebody is saying hello on TikTok. Hi, is that Craig? Hello, welcome. Thank you guys for joining. And so I have learned that it is important to ask questions, to fiercely listen, to listen way more than I talk when I'm in situations like that. And if I ask the right questions and if I am present with that person, they will arrive at the right thing to do for themselves. And that is when I am at the best service to anyone, not dumping my opinion on you because I think I'm so smart. No, that's not it. But helping you, asking questions so that you arrive at the right decision for yourself. self. So if you ever give the chance to give your opinion, if it's world news, if someone wants to know what do you think about this or what do you think about that, absolutely share your point of view. But when they're coming to you and it's their life, ask them questions, listen to how they're answering, observe things. Well, when you say that, you seem like you got a little sad. Actually observe what's going on. And before you know it, that person will find their path. And you're just walking along that journey with them instead of smothering their path with your opinion. I did that for years. And in the moment, it felt good. It felt like I was really helpful. It felt like I was smart. It felt like people came to me. But what is the common denominator in everything I just said? I. It was too much about me. Taking the time to actually connect with that person and hear what they're saying, and not just hear it but feel it, and notice how they are being. Are they getting happy when they talk about something? Maybe that's something to explore because you got some energy there. You look really sad when you talk about this, so maybe that's not the best route. What's going on? Why are you feeling sad? That's how you help people, because then they end up making good decisions for themselves versus carrying your opinion. Because my opinion is that's fine. We all have one. We all have lots of things. And so in those situations, I try really hard to not be so opinionated. Sidetracked. I got way sidetracked, but I think that's just what I was supposed to say in this moment. So I hope that helps somebody. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about is how do we ignite our lives? How do we go from living our lives on autopilot to living a life that is on fire? And on fire kept sticking with me. That kept resonating in my head. And I thought about fire today and how we get it. It's so easy. Do you actually really think about it? It's something that we take for granted because literally all we have to do is walk into our kitchens and turn a knob and poof, there it is. We don't have to work for it. So again, that's a place where it's more autopilot behavior. We don't stop and think, I'm so grateful that this stove turned on and that I have heat and that I can prepare my meal or whatever the case may be. We miss the gratitude in that because we're on autopilot there. It's happening all the time. But have you ever tried to start a fire out in the wild? I call it the wild. I used to be a Girl Scout for a little while, me and my sister Kim. And then when I became a mom, my girls were Girl Scouts and I actually led their troop. And I remember going out camping and starting a fire from nothing almost is not for the faint at heart. You have to have the right ingredients. Do you have wood? Do you have brush? Do you have leaves? And they have to be in the right condition. They have to be really dry. If it's too wet, it's not going to work. It can't be too big. You have to have something to add the spark and oxygen. So it's a process. You can't just turn a knob and it poof happens. The fire starts slowly and it'll go out just as quickly if you don't stoke it and provide a little oxygen. So it's work. It's work to get that fire going. And so you have to be really intentional. You can't just throw all the materials in there at one time. You've got to have a little finesse. If you add too much right away, you smother the fire and it goes out just as quickly as you got that little flame. So you have to let the fire get your spark going. Let it touch something that's nice and dry and start to burn. And then you have to blow and keep adding and you work through that process, or you smother the fire and it's done. Our goals and aspirations are no different. We need small, intentional, well thought out steps on a regular basis to light up our lives and to live it on fire. Otherwise, we're turning on the knob, the fire's there, and we're going through the process. So the encouragement is think about where that fire is coming from. Think about what it takes to really create the fire. And then you're in a position to not only be grateful, but you see the process, you're intentional about what you're doing, and you can turn that fire into a huge flame, right? So you have to put your energy into the right things that fire needs. It goes from a glow to a flame and think about what it's for. Why am I creating this fire? There's your why again. Is it going to give me warmth? It's going to protect me from the elements. If I'm outside, it keeps the bugs and the animals away. And it's a way to prepare my food. So knowing all the things that you can get from something as simple, so simple, sparks the gratitude, and it encourages you to continue to do the work to keep that fire burning. That's our lives. What are we working for? Why are we doing it? And how do we keep that flame going? All right. So, how does this apply to our lives? We have to decide that we want something and that we want it bad enough to put in the work to have it. That's the spark. Once you know that what that thing is and you've made a commitment to it, that's your spark. You're at the beginning stages of creating that fire. Then you have to go through the steps of providing the spark with those right ingredients that we talked about, and slowly giving those ingredients and giving it a chance for the fire to grow. That equates to the decisions that you make. Those little choices day in and day out will decide if your spark starts to grow into a flame or if it's smothered out before it really gets a chance to get going. Our decisions, are they feeding our fire or are they putting the fire out? Is your flame growing or is it dwindling? Every decision you make is either putting some more dry brush onto that fire so that it gets hotter and bigger, or your fire is being ignored and before you know it, it fizzles out. Those are the decisions we make each and every day. Once you have a flame, it requires maintenance. You can't just light a fire and then go away. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the people on Naked and Afraid. Man, the fire is the biggest deal. And once they get it, they're up off all through the night, keeping that fire going. Because once it goes out, now you've got to start that process all over again. You've got to get your spark, you've got to get your ingredients right. You have to start all over. So they work really hard to keep the fire burning. And so you have to be intentional and committed to continuing to provide what you need in order to keep going. So you have to do some self reflection here. What will fan your flames? Is it positive affirmations? Is it journaling? Is it taking a course to improve your skills in the area that you want to grow? What is it? What do you need to really take that smoldering fire and create a flame? Ask yourself that question, and then find that thing and start to put it into action, because that's how you began to live your life on fire. These are the activities that support and move you towards the goals that you want to accomplish. Before you know it, you've got a blazing fire. The fire represents you living your life with intention and in achieving the goals that you have set for yourself. So how will you live your life on fire starting today? If you've been on autopilot and you've already began to build your fire, it's up to you how you're going to continue. I'm 100% convinced that everyone within the sound of my voice, be it you're watching it live now or you see it on replay later, you're capable and you're deserving of a life on fire. You get to decide what that looks like. What does life on fire mean for you? What gets you excited? What are the things that you really want to accomplish? Once you've determined that, then you start to break it down. How do I get there? I've got the big goal now. I know what my flame looks like. What are the ingredients? What's going to give me that spark? How am I going to stoke that fire and take care of it once it starts to go? Those are the questions, and those are the things that you want to start writing down for yourself and building a plan for the life that you want to have. So I'm encouraging you to turn off autopilot and live the life that you desire. It's time to do the work to take your spark and create your fire. So that's the intentional part. And I talked a little bit about gratitude on the front end. I'm grateful just to be here. I'm grateful to be having this conversation with you guys. I'm grateful that despite how yesterday went, it didn't go nearly as bad as it could have. And I'm grateful to wake up this morning rejuvenated. I woke up early. When I tell y'all, I have had a full self-care morning, from facial to doing my hair to really taking care of my skin, because yesterday was hard. And when you have a hard day, I want to encourage you to not just really get so focused on how hard the day was, but congratulate yourself for getting through it, and then reward yourself with a little bit of extra self-care. Tomorrow I'll probably be back to plain face Cassandra. I don't know if you're going to get makeup every day, probably not, because the days start early. But today I needed to love on myself, and I needed to remind myself that good decisions were made and the right choices were made. And although I didn't get to do something that I was really excited about, I got to do what was really important to me. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves of that. The choice that I made because I knew, looking back, looking back on today, on yesterday, that's the choice that would make me proud. That's the choice that would say, good job, girl. You did the right thing. You were selfless. That was the choice that I can be proud of in the future. And sometimes I didn't feel conflicted. I didn't feel torn. My husband is more important than any presentation. And I had to get clear about that. I needed to say it out loud when I started to be sad, because I knew that I had done the right thing. And not just the right thing, but the thing that I wanted to do, because he released me multiple times. He was like, just run home real quick and do it. I would have felt this big leaving my husband in the hospital to go do anything. And I know that about myself. So it made the decision easy. But sometimes our mind plays tricks on us. And I started to bemoan what I missed as I was laying there. I was like, man, that was such a big opportunity. Now what? I don't know. I don't know. A lot of the things that were on my calendar this month, March was the big month of the year so far. Lots of engagements, and quite a few of those things have not come to fruition the way they were planned. But because I know that what is for me, I remain hopeful and I remain encouraged, and I'm excited about what the future holds. So how can I not be grateful? And I hope that when things don't go your way, you can remember this example and start to look at what you're grateful for and allow that to save the day. My gratitude saved the day, because I could have gotten a little bitter. I could have gotten more upset. I could have gotten a lot of things. But what I got was gratitude that my husband was good, gratitude that I had a job that was supportive and saying, "Don't worry about us. Go take care of your husband." Gratitude that even the conference, they told, you know what they told me? They said, "We're going to have you record your session and we're going to send it out to all the attendees," because it was in the top 10 of sessions that were pre-registered for. You had quite a few people who were really interested in hearing your presentation. So we want to make sure they don't miss it. So even in that, everybody was working with me so that I could do what I knew was what was needed to be done. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for an entire community, some people that I know, some people that I don't know, that lifted me up as I was going through that situation. And I hope that as we continue this, we get more good news. But whatever news we get, I'm going to be right there. Everything else is going to work around it. And I'm going to be a wife to my husband first. And then everything else will fall into place, because that's my choice. That's my priority. And when you know what your priority is, you can make the right choices for you and you can feel good about them. So I know we had a hodgepodge today. We kind of squeezed 2 days into one. So I went a little long. And I am so grateful for each of you for joining. Let's see. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Kim. And yes, I definitely made the right decision. And I agree. I believe with my whole heart, Kim, that bigger is the way. Good morning, Bridget, to you in your office. Good morning, Karen, my beautiful aunt. I'm glad that you're here. Um, And to the TikTok audience, I apologize. I use a tool that allows me to be live on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram at the same time. I'm not Instagram, but LinkedIn at the same time. So I can communicate with them. I can see their messages, and it's on a nice big screen. You guys that are on TikTok, I have my phone in a device behind my laptop. So I'm able to start TikTok live at the same time. But because it's on my phone and my eyes are almost 55 years old, it's a lot harder for me to see your comments and to communicate. I think I'm going to get a tablet or something to make it a little bit easier so I can interact with you all as well. But I typically see your messages after the live ends, and I can have the phone closer to my face. But I'm not ignoring you, and I appreciate you. Everybody who joined, thank you so much for your interactions and for your comments. If you catch this later, hashtag replay. A lot of the work that I've done and a lot of what I wanted to talk about with the audience yesterday in my presentation was about some of the self limiting beliefs that I've overcome. Imposter syndrome, people pleasing, not feeling good enough, not knowing my own value, and not having that self worth. Those were things that plagued me for a good portion of my life. And the people who were up close and personal had no idea. They saw me achieving, they saw me doing well. I was a straight A student in school. I left the little town and went to the big city to go off to college and built a life. Monday marked my 23rd year at my corporation, and I've achieved a lot of success there, but I wasn't enjoying any of it because I didn't feel worthy. I didn't know my own value. And that process of getting over that and learning to love me is why I show up every day. The things that I've learned through therapy and just through life and overcoming the stuff that was holding me back is what I share with you guys on a regular basis. And I did create a free course. It should be in my bio on whatever platform you're watching me on. But if you can't find it, just DM me and I'll send you the link. It's called Transforming Your Inner Critic into Your Inner Advocate. That course was designed to introduce you guys to me and to what I've overcome and how I've overcome it. It's a mini course, so it does not take a whole lot of time, but it will give you the opportunity to start to get really clear about your self limiting beliefs and where they are, and give you a process to actually try to get through them. And so find my course. It's transforming your inner critic into your inner advocate, because most of what holds us back is happening in between our ears. And so I want to do everything that I can do to help you connect with that inner voice, find what's holding you back, and then do the work to clean that up so that you can get out of your own way and build and execute on a plan that gives you the life that you desire. That's my mission. I'm on the other side, the south side of life. I'll be 55 next month. So I've lived at least half of it, right? And so, with that in mind, I don't play about what I do with my time and who I spend my time with. That was for the first 55, maybe. But now I am very intentional, and I intend to share this message in many different ways with as many people as I can, because before I leave this place, I want to leave something behind that will be bigger and stand on after me, go on after me. And so I encourage you guys to take the course, get to know me and my teaching style and where it's all coming from and what these concepts are that we talk about every day in a little bit more detail, and start to apply them to your life. That is my hope for everybody, that you transform your inner critic into your inner advocate. You are your own best cheerleader. All right. Thanks, Cliff. I think I made the right decision as well. And thank you all for being here. It hashtag replay if you catch this later. And by all means, get the course. I promise you, it's absolutely free. No credit card, no nothing, no BS. It is a free course that I stand behind, and I think will be very helpful to anybody who goes through it. So with that, it's time for me to get back into wifey mode. I am going to let you all go and wish you a wonderful, thankful Thursday filled with gratitude. Be intentional. Know what you want and then make the choices that are going to get you there. All right. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye bye.